I'm blown away. Like, what I hear in what Amy shared there is so much acceptance of this is the way I am. This is the way I work best. This is what I need. And then from that place of acceptance, being able to build around it, like she said, rather than fight against it. Like, that is so powerful. I genuinely believe that's where the magic starts to happen. That's where I watch the magic happen in my clients, right? Is when they just stop beating themselves with that stick and they go, do you know what? This is just the way I am and I'm cool with that. And I'm gonna, as Amy said, like, build around it.
Welcome to the Unconventional Business Podcast, your place for real stories of real people growing their businesses in the real world. Most of us are neurodivergent in some way, but of course everyone is welcome. This is the place for rule breakers, narrative dismantlers, and those who just want to forge their own unique path in the world. You will find no do it my way or 6 steps to 6 figures and all that BS here. My guests and I will offer guidance that allows you to take just the bits you like and easily apply them to your business. And of course, to bin the rest if you like. After all, building a successful business, whatever success means to you, is about creating something with structure and flow, not something rigid that feels like wearing someone else's clothes. Join me on this journey and together, let's do business differently.
Hello and welcome to episode 100 of the Unconventional Business Podcast. You find me on a very wet and windy December day in my garden office, so apologies for the gale blowing outside in the background. I hope it's not too annoying. I am doing something a bit random and a bit different for episode 100, which I can't actually believe that I'm here. Especially as an ADHDer, you know, where we have to define consistency a little differently. Doing something week in, week out in the way that we're expected to is maybe not how we operate. We're more cyclical, you know. I like to define consistency as, you know, regularly coming back to something, realising you've fallen off the wagon and returning to it. And I think if you look through the dates... If you want to nerd out over it, and you look through the dates of all the podcast episodes of this podcast, you'll see that there are some gaps. But, you know, over the last 3.5 years, I think, I've pumped out 99 episodes. Sometimes it's every week, sometimes it's every 2 weeks, sometimes I don't touch it for a few months, but I always come back to it. And the reason for that is actually you, my lovely, lovely listener, because of all the feedback I get from you guys. Honestly, every time I lose my way with the podcast, every time I fail to prioritise it and I struggle, I will just get someone getting in touch with me and telling me that they've listened to an episode and it's really hit home and they've taken something away from it. And honestly, that's what keeps me coming back is you. So to celebrate episode 100, I have to start by celebrating you and just saying thank you so much for being here, for listening, for sharing it with people, because obviously that is the only way really that this podcast is going to grow, is by you sharing it with people you know. Yeah, I don't have thousands of pounds to invest in ads, so organic is the only way for me. So yeah, I just really appreciate your feedback, sharing it with your friends, getting in touch with me to tell me when something's resonated with you. Honestly, it makes me standing here alone talking to my microphone totally worthwhile. And obviously all the editing and the post-production and promotion and all of it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So today we are going to do something a little bit random, a little bit different. I do not have a script. I don't even have bullet points. But what I do have is some lovely, lovely voice notes from my lovely, lovely clients. Yeah, I really wanted this episode to be about celebrating ADHD strengths. You know, I didn't set out to create a podcast about ADHD or neurodiversity. I set out to create a podcast that was going to resonate with business owners who like to do things differently. And the word I landed on back then was unconventional, but obviously inadvertently I was describing neurodivergent people. I just didn't know that then. But yeah, I really want this episode to be about celebrating our strengths and what we're good at and how we use those strengths in our businesses. And I thought, who better to ask than my clients? That's what they do. That's what I help them do in my coaching. And that's really my ethos. I genuinely believe if you put most of us in the right conditions and environment, we can thrive. And when you work for yourself, no one tells you, but part of your job is to create the right conditions and environment for you to thrive. And I have watched my clients do that and do incredible things as a result. The reason I wanted to do this episode this way with voice notes is actually voice notes are a really massive part of how I work with my clients. It's really a coaching partnership I create with my clients. I get both feet inside their business with them. So obviously we have one-to-one coaching sessions online regularly, but I'm also in their pocket on WhatsApp. You know, I'm there for the wins, the woes, the weird things, the what the fuck days, with unlimited WhatsApp support. I also have a private community that I run for my one-to-one clients so that they can all meet each other and connect. But yeah, that voice note connection is super powerful and super beneficial for them. I know because they tell me. And, it really helps with that accountability and momentum and just having someone that sees you and gets it. So I thought, what better way to ask my clients to contribute than via voice note? So yeah, episode 100 is going to be a voice note party. So over to them. I have collected voice notes. I haven't listened to them yet, so we're going to listen to them together for the first time and let's see what people say.
Hi, it's Rosie Alvin here. Congratulations on your 100th episode. What an achievement. You asked how I play to my ADHD strengths in my business. And honestly, it's been a huge part of how ADHD focus has grown. One of my biggest strengths is connecting dots quickly, ideas, people, opportunities, themes. ADHD gives me this fast pattern recognition that's brilliant for coaching and for creating workshops because I can sense really quickly what someone needs or where something is heading. What used to feel like thinking too fast has turned into a strength I really rely on. I also played my strengths by leaning into creativity and instinct. I don't necessarily plan in a linear way, but when I follow the spark, I create my best work. Podcast episodes, workshops, retreats, articles. If something feels meaningful or exciting, I've learned to trust that energy and build from there. Another strength that I have is the hyperfocus or possibly fixation. When I care about something, I can get things done at a really high level. The key for me has been designing my business so that the work I do actually puts me in that zone. And finally, I would say empathy. Many people with ADHD have deep emotional intuition, and that's shaped the heart of my coaching. I can sit with someone's experiences and really hear them and help them turn something that feels really messy into something that suddenly makes sense. So yeah, I play to my strengths by designing my business around how my brain naturally works rather than trying to squeeze myself into a traditional model. It's made the whole journey not just more sustainable but more joyful.
Oh, what an amazing example to start with. The lovely Rosie Alvin, who is also an ADHD coach. Yeah, we connected on Instagram at some point this year, and there was just an instant vibe between us. And I think, the examples Rosie shared in that voice note are just perfect. Really leaning into what am I good at? How do I like to work? What are my strengths, rather than beating yourself with a bigger stick to try and do things in the way that you that you should. I love that she talked about pattern recognition. That's such a big one that I think a lot of people that I work with don't necessarily realise about themselves. They don't realise that it's happening, and how it manifests is things like making really fast decisions, which gets labelled as being impulsive, which has like a negative connotation, or interrupting in conversation, which again has a negative connotation. But actually we've picked up on the thread, and our brains have just worked really fast to figure out the solution to the problem. And that, and that can be a great thing. That can be something that other people can benefit from when we're allowed to do that. So yeah, some amazing examples in Rosie's voice note there. So let's go to voice note number 2.
Getting really clear on what I need to be at my best has really helped me to thrive with my ADHD in my business. So for me, that means things like having autonomy, flexibility, and being able to allow myself to follow my curiosity and work when I'm in flow, rather than always forcing myself into like rigid routines of I have to do things at certain times, because that just doesn't work for my brain. So when I know that when I've got space for creativity, make space for connection and talking things through with other people, I'm at my best. And it means that in those moments, sometimes I can really hyperfocus, join the dots really quickly and see a bigger picture in the way that really, really drives things forward. And I used to sort of see some of my impulsive, messy parts as something that I needed to fix. But I've actually realised that it's part of what makes my spark and what makes me me. And that's where the magic happens. And I've also realised that the energy I bring, that sometimes I feel like I'm too much, and that empathy and the ability to read people deeply are massive strengths in what I do, whether I'm coaching, speaking, like designing a program, where I can really read other people in a way that other people can't, and seeing that as a strength. And rather than like fighting against the bits of me that I don't see as desirable, so the bits that where I'm wired in like not being particularly organised or not being able to manage my emails, I've just started designing my business around not having to do those things. So having a VA that does that stuff for me, and all of it's just helped to make me feel so much lighter. And I don't really see my ADHD as something I have to manage as much now, but I see it as more as the strength that makes my business so successful, and it helps me to be a bit braver in what I do and just accept the things that I'm not as great at and get help with those things. So it's been a game changer for me of not battling against things but working with my brain.
Oh, wow. What an incredible example from the lovely Amy Wilkinson, who is a coach to people in the food industry. She has, some amazing experience in that area. Wow, I'm blown away. Like, what I hear in what Amy shared there is so much acceptance of this is the way I am, this is the way I work best, this is what I need. And then from that place of acceptance, being able to build around it, like she said, rather than fight against it. Like, that is so powerful. I genuinely believe that's where the magic starts to happen. That's where I watch the magic happen in my clients, right? Is when they just stop beating themselves with that stick and they go, do you know what? This is just the way I am and I'm cool with that. And I'm gonna, as Amy said, like build around it. Phenomenal. That was a great one. Right. Voice note number 3.
So when it comes to ADHD in my business, I've stopped trying to fix how my brain works and started building around how it works naturally. And I started doing this subconsciously before intentionally doing it, which I think is what drew me to marketing in the first place. So my business is a social media management agency, and obviously marketing's always changing. So it keeps my brain busy. It keeps everything interesting because no 2 days are ever the same. And how I play to my strengths in my business is by having lots of ideas. Obviously my brain runs at 100 miles per hour, which is really beneficial when you're trying to think of different content ideas for numerous clients and audiences. I'm not afraid to try new things, which again is really important because all content is different. The way people engage and what they interact with changes all the time. Trends change all the time, which leads me on to fast thinking. Like when there is a new trend or something needs to be changed last minute, those tend to be the circumstances I can work best under. And the other thing I would say is the biggest strength for me is my empathy and my open-mindedness and my understanding of people. And that probably comes from a lifetime of trying to understand myself and always feeling different. So you never judge other people and you can kind of see things from all angles, which again really helps with marketing because you are speaking to so many different people. So that's how I would say my strengths play out in my business.
Oh, I love that lovely message from Demi Loran there, who runs Loran Social. Yeah, I just, oh, so many things I could say. But yeah, what I really noticed in my work with Demi was, yeah, again, that sense of reaching that place of acceptance. And I do think that's super powerful, because when you stop fighting the way you are, you free up all this energy and brain space to actually go, and exactly as Demi shared, like, what am I naturally really good at, and how can I actually leverage that in my business? Like, how can I use those particular strengths that I've got, like she said, coming up with multiple ideas and different directions for things. Like, marketing is all about creativity. My background is in marketing and creative roles, and being able to adapt to things quickly. I always say, like, ADHD brains, we can be really amazing in crisis mode when we're flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. But, you know, how can you make use of that in your business, but not because you are a machine, you know, all of these things. And as Rosie mentioned earlier about hyperfocus, I would say hyperfocus responsibly. You know, if you're going to use these strengths in your business, how do you balance them out? How do you get enough rest? How do you make sure that if there is a crazy deadline approaching that you're going to knuckle down on, that you give yourself some time to breathe afterwards? And I think it's reaching that place of acceptance is what allows you to build around it. Okay, voice note number 4.
I'm a writing coach for research-led writers, and that means that I get to work with a wide variety of clients, all with different projects, which absolutely feeds into my ADHD need for novelty and excitement and fresh new things. That's one of the main ways my ADHD shows up for me, is wanting that excitement of the new. So I work with clients on a 6-session basis generally, which is around 10 to 12 weeks. And so every time I get a new client, I have something new to stimulate my brain. So that is one way that my business plays to my ADHD strengths. Working with clients' ideas means that I get to do all of the joy of thinking of new things and coming up with ideas and doing that big picture thinking that ADHDers are so good at, but without the need to have to follow through on anything myself. I can get all of the benefits and the pleasure of coming up with ideas and being an ideas generator and thinking creatively on behalf of my clients, but then I never have to do the following through and actually taking action, which is something that I find very difficult. But it means that I'm absolutely playing to my strengths, because I am very good at generating ideas and thinking of new creative ways to do things.
That is the wonderful Professor Samantha Parsley, literally the best name ever. And I love that thought about really reframing being the ideas person and not necessarily being the person that's going to follow through, and that actually being okay. Like, how magic is that, to let go of the idea that you need to follow everything through and you need to be a completer finisher. You know, like, if our strength is to generate loads of ideas and make loads of connections and you know, things like pattern recognition, like, why not just do that? And I love that Sam used the word joy there. I think that's so important, and that's such a amazing kind of side benefit of playing to your strengths in your businesses. You really open up those parts that allow you to feel joyful, you know, especially when you let go of the idea that, you know, you're supposed to do it all. Amazing example there. Right, voice note number 5.
Well, I'm very lucky that I've had a chance to build a business and a work life that's pretty much built around playing to my ADHD strengths. As a writer of nonfiction and ghostwriter, I feel like I basically get paid to be interested in things and stay curious and ask good questions. And really, if I'm not finding myself engaged and firing in that kind of interest-based mindset way, then I'm probably doing something wrong. And so far, that's been a really good way to stay motivated through projects that can be long and daunting. And I really can't imagine working any other way. I love going from project to project and really just building my day around results and what I need to get done rather than a set amount of time that I have to be at a desk or something like that. So yeah, it's strange. I never wanted to have a desk job, and writing is kind of the ultimate desk job. And sometimes I think it's like the universe's like revenge for how much I hated homework. It's like I now have homework forever because that's basically what writing is and what deadlines are. But for whatever reason, it really works, because when it's the right homework and it's engaging in the right ways, it doesn't feel like work.
This is such a great example from the lovely Charlie Daly, who is a ghostwriter I worked with, a couple of years ago, actually, one of my first clients. And I just absolutely love this thought of using the fact that things need to be interesting to engage you as a tool in your work. Like Charlie talks about, if I'm bored by what I'm writing, or if an idea is boring me, then that's the litmus test of like whether this thing is going to fly or not. And I love, again, what a wonderful way to reframe this idea that we get bored quickly and actually use that as a strength in your business. Like build your business around that ability, because that will ensure that whatever you write is amazing and it keeps people engaged. I just think that's such a magic idea, and Charlie is such a great example of that. Right, next voice note.
Hello, sending a voice note on how I play to my ADHD strengths in business. And I think there's a couple of things for me that definitely stand out. One is that I think I have a very strong sense of empathy and understanding of other people's emotions, and I'm quite hyper aware of other people's emotions. And that is a strength for me in my business, because it means kind of no matter what work I'm doing for clients, and that's looked different over the last couple of years, I am able to identify what help they need and when. Like I can read when they're overwhelmed and they're not saying it. I can read when they need help with such and such, but they might not be saying it. And that's really helped me to present myself really naturally to my clients as someone who's kind of always one step ahead, because I'm picking up on things and reading things the way other people might not be doing that. And I know it's something my clients have been really grateful for over the years, is that I can pick up on the things that are kind of unsaid, and I'm really good at reading their emotions. And then the other thing is making sure that I have a lot of variety in my work means that I'm always able to maintain like good productivity. Like when I used to work in an employed role and I was doing the same thing every day, I did not have the motivation. But now that I have designed it so that I have that bit of variety and I know what I need to kind of keep interest in my work, and I know how I need to mix things up, I've been able to do that and build my office around it and build the work that I do and the type of clients that I have. And that has really allowed me to build a business that I don't ever want to stop, and it allows me to do work that I love every day and mix things up as and when I need to, depending on my mood, my focus, that kind of thing. So yeah, those are the two biggest things I would say.
Wow, what amazing examples. And again, what a lovely reframe of being sensitive and empathetic and tuned into others. Again, like, God, yeah, the sort of lament in the 80s was you're too sensitive, you cry too easily and all the rest of it. But actually, like, literally all the ADHDers I work with, I don't think there's one person who isn't deeply sensitive, like a real deep thinker and feeler. And actually, that's not a weakness. Being tuned into people, exactly as Eloise shared so perfectly there, it's really amazing when you can intentionally use that to benefit someone else. And obviously doing that within your business. Eloise's amazing right-hand woman and content repurposing partner for ambitious and busy business owners. And yeah, when you can use that to read somebody and to jump inside their mind and spot things before they spot them, you're using that sensitivity as a strength, but you're also using it in a boundaried and safe way. It's not just leaking out of you willy-nilly. You're able to be like, I'm going to use it very intentionally in this specific area for this person, and they're going to pay me money. I think that's absolute magic. What a great example. Right, next voice note.
I don't think it's a coincidence that I ended up leaving the corporate world and starting my own business because Now it makes so much sense, knowing that I have a lot of ADHD traits. I do not have a diagnosis, but my son does, and I see so much of that in him that comes from me. I think that being able to work for myself, making decisions for myself, keeping huge amounts of variety in the work that I'm doing, that has all really been driven by my ADHD and my need to have lots of different things going on. I also think that working for myself helps in terms of being able to have super productive moments and working flexibly to allow myself downtime when I need downtime. The work that I've chosen to do in terms of helping and coaching people predominantly with regards to them putting together presentations and public speaking, I think that I have a very deep empathy with people and the way that they feel, particularly in terms of nervousness. I think that's driven by the way that my brain works. And I think that that's what people respond to. So that has been a huge strength. And it's been great to understand that the fact that sometimes I can struggle with my own emotions enables me to help people understand where they are struggling with theirs. And that has really helped me in the business, and certainly I would say most of the clients that I work with respond and appreciate my ability to do that. I also think that I am really driven to help people with simplicity in their messaging, partly because that's what my brain needs. And so really kind of forensically helping people to find clarity in the messages that they're giving is something that is completely driven by my own need and the way that my brain works. And the fact that I am like that helps me to support them in the way that I do. So I think there's lots of wonderful strengths that my crazy ADHD brain helps me to do. And working with Siobhan's been fabulous for me to really be able to embrace those and celebrate them. And I am very grateful for that.
Oh, what an amazing example there from Andrea White, who's a coach to speakers and anyone needing to present as part of their role. And I love that what she shared there about using that empathy, and that there's this opportunity for us as ADHDers to be really real with people, like people talk about the sort of meme is that we're oversharers. And I'm like, who decided we're an oversharer? Like, what if we're just sharers? Like, what if we are just really good at making deep connections with people super fast? And I think that's, what Andrea is alluding to perfectly there is helping her clients feel really seen and heard really quickly, not saying, oh, you've got to put a brave face on, but by being able to say, shit, I get nervous too, and this is what I do about it. And Andrea's got a wonderful program that she delivers as part of her work called Positive Intelligence. And I know that she practices what she preaches, right? She works on this stuff because it is something that she finds hard and she works through it. And I think that's such a magical way to support your client. It's not do as I say, it's do as I do. And I think that's, there's a real ADHD strength there in being able to be authentic and genuine and open and just not perfect, but I think that's what people want in this era of AI generated drivel and, not knowing what's real and what's not. I think we crave that authenticity from each other and that real human connection more than ever. So what an incredible example. Next voice note.
My business is the most bonkers ADHD fueled business. I am very chaotic, but in the most beautiful, loving, fun way. Everything I do is creative and fun. I am very empathetic. I make people feel comfortable. I show people how absolutely beautiful they are. I'm fully authentic. I am myself in my business and in my content. There's no masking here, babe. I feel like I can do anything. I encourage everybody to show up as the same. I forget things. I am funny as fuck, which also helps with making people feel comfortable and just like attracting the right people to my business. Pattern recognition.
I know what poses, what angles work. And you know that thing where like you're a jack of all trades, but also, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of all trades. Jack of all trades, master of all. I can just do things. So like the whole photography thing, I wasn't taught, I just learned, and I could just do it. And I can't necessarily tell you how I can do it, but I can do it. And my most favourite thing about being ADHD and having that in my business is my ADHD coach, Siobhan Fox. Love you.
Oh, what a wonderful message there from the amazing Wendy Gannon, photographer. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn and you also have a dark and dirty sense of humour, I recommend going and doing that right now. But yeah, I think like what a great example of just fully being yourself, you know, really embracing that chaotic energy and rolling with it and then creating magic as a result. I think Wendy, a sort of ADHD strength that sort of underpins everything she said there is that ability to be vulnerable and real. And like she said, that is how she makes people feel comfortable, is by not pretending to be something and not masking. And I do think, I know it's a privilege in today's world to be able to unmask, but I do think when you do that, you are able to connect with people on such a different level. And I think Wendy is a fabulous example of that. And you can go check her out on LinkedIn, but also check out all the photography on my website, bigpicturebusinesscoach.com. It's all there. And yeah, and my brief to all my clients when I said, would you like to contribute to episode 100, was just how do you play to your ADHD strengths in your business? So it was really lovely actually that Andrew and Wendy gave me a little shout out, because it makes me feel all loved and mushy. So yeah, cheers, ladies. Right, next voice note.
Happy 100th! You are so amazing, and this podcast is so amazing, and thank you for helping us unconventional business owners be our most fabulous selves. I am Susanna. I'm an ADHD writing coach. My business name is Passionate Writer Coaching, and I have helped hundreds of writers with ADHD achieve their writing goals with confidence and with joy. I think my entire business is built on my ADHD strengths. One of the best examples of that is my pattern recognition and my out-of-the-box thinking, which has allowed me to create an entirely new niche where one didn't exist before. But it is also because of my curiosity and my desire for novelty that I get to keep reinventing myself, my business, my services, keep it interesting and fresh for myself, but also keep learning new stuff that truly helps my clients. I am not giving the same presentation over and over again. I can talk to clients whom I've worked with for 4 years and still teach them something new because I keep learning something new every single day. So yeah, I think that ADHD is at the core of my business. It is what has made my business successful. And it's going to make you, the listeners of this podcast, even more successful than you already are.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Wonderful. Suzanne from Passionate Writer Coach. Yeah, just what an amazing example of how that curiosity and that drive for novelty can, again, not be seen as a negative thing, that, you know, we're always on to the next thing and we are at the mercy of shiny objects and all the rest of it. Like, what if we used that to drive creativity in our business and drive novelty for our clients? And what if we use that, exactly like Suzanne said, to drive our thirst for knowledge? And what if we use that curiosity as like an engine, you know, that we are constantly out there sucking up bits of knowledge and mining for the gold in things and reading and listening and watching, and then we process all of that and then we give our clients the best bits of it. I mean, Suzanne is just the most unbelievable repository of ADHD and writing knowledge, like unreal. And I think, yeah, she's such a great example, exactly like she said, of it's not about managing it. It's about literally, and not even building around it. It's like building on it. I think Suzanne's business is a perfect example of a business that is the foundations of it our ADHD, you know. Right, we are now on our final voice note.
So I would say how my ADHD strengths show up in my business is, one, I've completely created a business that works with my brain. So I wouldn't say that strength or self-awareness was a strength initially when I first began, but through learning about my ADHD, it's become a huge strength. So I have the self-awareness to know when I am in a big hyperfocus and I have all the energy. And this is where I can churn out a lot of ideas, a lot of content, a lot of resources for my clients, new trainings, but then also the ability to know when I'm heading to a burnout phase and I need to kind of pay it back, but I've kind of planned ahead for that. Another strength is that big picture thinking. So I like to see the whole picture, being highly curious. I'm always asking why. I also have a very data-driven brain, so that in line with the hyper focus and the big picture thinking, I have a lot of data that I collect, and I'm constantly adapting my business and everything that is suited for my clients to make sure that it's in line with the data and the scientific research, which again, hyperfocus leads me to go down a lot of research rabbit holes. And then having high empathy. I think working in a coaching and consulting business, especially with neurodivergent children and parents and corporates, I've either lived the experience, which I see as a huge strength, and wouldn't have had that without my ADHD, or I have the experience through my clients and interacting with different people. So that shows up in my business every day. And just that high energy. I don't have high energy all the time, but again, with the self-awareness, I know how to lean in when I do have the high energy, and I know how to pay back when I don't have the high energy. But it is a huge strength.
Amazing example again there from Kate Latrobe, who's also an ADHD coach who works with parents and children. I loved what she said about paying yourself back, and knowing that you might drop into a hyper focus on something, or that you might burn through a lot of energy on something, but building in that time to rest around that. Everyone's so obsessed with productivity, but I'm always like, you can't have productivity without rest. It's the other side of the coin. You cannot ask yourself to be more productive if you are not resting enough. And I think a key thing I've noticed about ADHDers in my time working with them is we're quite cyclical. You don't have to have a monthly menstrual cycle to be cyclical. It goes across all of us. We are about peaks and troughs. We're not the consistent day in, day out workers slogging away for 8 hours a day, every day. Like, that's just not how we're made. We're about ebbs and flows and ups and downs. And I think you can live at the mercy of that and see that as a negative, or you can start to notice, apply your amazing pattern recognition to yourself and notice, what are my ebbs and flows, and start to forecast them and build them in and build systems that work with ebbing and flowing energy levels. And I think Kate shared an amazing example there of how that can look and how magical that can be when you stop fighting how you are and how you're wired. Well, I have to say, I have so enjoyed listening to those voice notes. I hope that was as inspiring for you as it was for me. I feel so fired up after listening to those, that actually what I believe is true, that if you put us in the right conditions and environment, we thrive and we can lead joyful, exciting, fulfilling lives, and we can do work that really lights us up, and we don't have to be good at everything. We don't have to do everything. We just have to follow our curiosity, our pattern recognition, our drive for novelty, our amazing connection and empathy with other human beings. And a lot of these things that we grow up believing are our weaknesses, they actually end up being our strengths. And I just think, thank you so much to all my clients who contributed to this episode, because I think you are all the most wonderful examples of what I'm talking about in action out there in the world, other people going out there and doing it. And it was and is an absolute pleasure to have been part of all of your journeys at some point and watch you build these things that you need and embrace and accept these things about yourself and then realise that they are what makes you magical. And just the most amazing examples. What an amazing way to spend episode 100. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And of course, if you would like to be contributing to, episode 200 with a voice note of your own, then I can support you to figure out how to play to your ADHD strengths in your business and how to build that environment and conditions you need to thrive. That is what my coaching is all about. So head to my website if you would like to find out more. And also, if this episode has resonated with you, if you think, wow, there's someone that really needs this little moment of inspiration, that actually there is another way. It doesn't all have to be struggles and challenges and doom and gloom, that actually there is another way to do life and business. Please do share it with them, because if I could wave a magic wand, that's the question I always ask my guests. I would want everyone with ADHD to know that life can be better, business and work can be better. There are so many opportunities and possibilities once you truly understand yourself, and that is the work that absolutely lights me up, is helping people figure that out about themselves and dance off, as my clients on this episode have provided so much evidence. They've done that for themselves. They dance off into the sunset and look at what they do and the magic they're able to create. And then that's how we create that ripple effect in the world, Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for all your feedback. I'm so proud of myself for reaching episode 100, and I couldn't have done it without you. And I'm also really excited for the next 100 episodes. So if there is anything that you would really like to hear in a future episode, a guest you'd like me to interview, if you would like to be interviewed, please reach out and get in touch with me. I would love to hear from you. And as always, thank you for listening.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please do drop this podcast a rating or review. I'd be ever so grateful to reach more of those that need to hear it. So I'd also like to ask you a favour. Who do you know that would benefit from listening to this episode? Please hit share and send it to them too. Thanks so much for listening, and I can't wait to see you here next time. Let's do business differently.